Good morning. Today is Tuesday, September 24th. This is Wake Up with KERA News. I'm Andrew Garcia. The rain seems to have gone away for now. Today is expected to be clear, sunny, and warm with highs in the upper 80s. Coming up later in today's show, we'll talk about the misconception that only a trained professional can prevent suicide, but that's not necessarily the case. We'll talk more about why that is in just a moment. Phase 1 of renovations are complete on Cotton Bowl Stadium just in time for the opening of the State Fair this week. Those renovations include a new room for national broadcasts and upgrades to rooms in the press box. Phase 2 is set to resume after the fair, which opens on Friday. The adult party game company Cards Against Humanity is suing SpaceX. The company claims SpaceX has been using land it owns on the Texas-Mexico border as a storage area and parking lot without permission. The game maker is demanding an end to the land use and $15 million from the tech company. Rock singer Jon Bon Jovi made news this month when he and a video production assistant talked down a woman who stood on the ledge of a pedestrian bridge in Nashville. Bon Jovi reportedly has training for handling crises, but a clinical social worker with Texas Health Behavioral Health says you don't have to be trained to talk a person out of suicide. Megan Graves talks with KERA's Sam Baker about some of the myths regarding suicide.
One is that suicide is inevitable. Once someone decides to do it, they can't be stopped.
I think that we hear that a lot in our culture because there's just not a whole lot of education about suicide prevention. In reality, we can actually prevent suicide in any given moment, all the way up until the act.
But that ties into another myth that you have to be a trained expert in order to do that.
Of course, we have trained experts in the field who do suicide prevention education, but anyone who is paying attention and anyone who can see signs that someone is not doing well or signs that somebody is considering suicide, the only thing you need to do is, one, you can talk to them and say, hey, I see you, and please let me help you. You don't have to know the right things to say other than let me get you help. And two, you can get them the resources to get help. 988, which is the National Suicide Prevention Line. Within your community, figure out what those resources are, whether it be counseling centers or behavioral health hospitals to get folks to. And then in any case, if it's an emergency, please don't hesitate to call 911 so that they can get trained professionals out into the field to intervene in real time.
You said, though, that you have to sort of be aware of the signs. So what should we look for?
For people who we know on a personal level, we are looking for some signs in the way that their life may be changing, right? So maybe the way they're presenting every day, maybe they're more depressed or more kind of inward and withdrawing from people. Or maybe those folks in our lives are starting to kind of like say their goodbyes and tying up loose ends in their life, right? So actions and behaviors outside of their normal, like purchasing guns or stockpiling medications, those would be some really big red flags.
Another myth, suicidal people keep their plans to themselves. There's no way to know.
That does on occasion happen, right? There's no signs, there's no symptoms. They don't talk to people about it. They don't allude to it. But for the most part, there are things leading up to suicide. And I will say hindsight is 20/20, right? Looking back, we can see kind of those patterns of change in behavior and in their actions. And so people may not outright come to you and say, hey, I'm going to kill myself and this is how I plan to do it. But when we are educated on those signs and symptoms of somebody considering suicide, we can prevent it in that case because we know what to look for. And folks sometimes even do say, I'm thinking about killing myself. And that we should always take very seriously.
So therefore, another myth, people who talk about suicide won't actually do it and are only seeking attention.
I hear this a lot, especially in regards to adolescents and teenagers. But one, I would say, if someone needs attention that bad, I don't think it's harmful to give them the attention. And two, there are lots of other ways to get attention. So most of the time when somebody is saying that they are considering ending their life, we should take that very seriously.
Where do these myths come from anyway?
I think a lot of it is just misinformation. What we see in movies, we see things about suicide or about kind of teenagers seeking that kind of attention, and we just assume it's true. Kind of word of mouth, like this misunderstanding of what suicide is like, we pass that around. And so you see that these get carried out within media, within social media, and also just within kind of community groups. It's just been our understanding for the longest time that these things are true. But when we really look at the research, then we find that's not really true. And so how do we educate people about these myths and what might be actually true?
That was KERA's Sam Baker speaking with Megan Graves of Texas Health Behavioral Health. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, call or text the Crisis Hotline at 988. The Texas Rangers are away in Oakland playing the Athletics this evening. Both teams have been eliminated from the playoffs this season, so the only thing at stake appears to be bragging rights. Texas has a 6-4 edge over Oakland this season through 10 games. We'll have to wait and see if they can finish strong against one of the lowest performing teams this year. And you can head to the Umbrella Gallery to check out Paulette Martzloff's Woven Narrative this month. The exhibition features abstract work that explores 2 and 3D textures, patterns, and color. It's on view through October 18th. For more information and plenty of other things to do, visit kera.org/calendar. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. This show was produced and edited by Shardae White and Becca Moore. For more news in your inbox, visit kera.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter, and that is written by our colleague Catherine Hobbs. I think you'll like it. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at KERATX, and we'll see you tomorrow.